We're here today to talk about a subject very close to my heart, which is seating design in India. And we're going to be doing a dialogue between MAP and Vitra, which, as we all know, is an iconic place for seating design. Here we're going to be talking about an iconic form of seating, which is the low seat or the Pida chair. So welcome and come on in. So we're talking about the interpretation of this chair, why this design, why the low seat, why do we have low seating that existed in our country at that time. So really low seating came about as a manner of just giving a person of higher authority reinforcement. So if you were sitting with a group of people, which mostly everybody sat on the floor or a carpet or a qaleen, then you gave a person of nobility or a doctor or a learned man or a priest just an elevated seat, just slightly off the ground, to reinforce his authority. That's really the reason for this structure and this form. And the arcaded back is an exquisite feature here, and you will see it across chairs at that time, which were, if you think about the throne, that is something that we've all seen. If you look at manuscripts, if you look at miniatures, they all have arcaded backs. The elevated seat exists just as an elevated seat or a stool. All our sculptures, think about the gods and goddesses across Ajanta, Buddhist carvings, all of it. You'll see elevated seats, the lotus seat, different forms of seating, and the arcaded back in some. So obviously in our chair, the Pida chair, we see a gentle recline, that is for comfort, because an absolute straight, which is a beautiful commonality with the Red Blue chair. It's almost an identical form of recline, angle of recline. And yes, so that I guess is for comfort and also for perhaps for authority again.
The Red Blue chair by Dutch designer and architect Gerrit Rietveld is not your typical armchair. However, it has some of the typical features of an armchair. It has a low seating position, armrests, a high backrest. Still, it is an armchair really stripped to its main structure. It does not have upholstery, no textiles, no skin, no comfort really offered by any type of upholstery. It is a chair that is stripped to its main structure, consisting basically of two elements, slats and boards. 13 slats altogether, 6 of them for the vertical posts, 7 of them for the horizontal rails, and then 2 wider slats for the armrests. In addition to that, 2 boards, 1 for the backrest and 1 for the seat.
So we talk about the production of this chair. So obviously it's a one-off, it is a handcrafted piece, and there are many similar kinds of chairs that exist in this form, and those similarities and differences would occur based on region and on purpose. So if you were creating a Pida chair in Rajasthan, it would be made from wood that was locally sourced from there. And if you were creating a chair in Gujarat, then it would use material that was locally and easily available there. And again, it would be influenced by cultural habits. So if you ate in a particular way or addressed an audience in a particular way, it would be designed as per that. So Jochen, the Red Blue chair by Rietveld, why do you think he chose this color palette? What is the significance of these very strong colors?
Looking back at the design of the Red Blue chair in the 1950s, Rietveld stated that he had also been looking at the color theory of Arthur Schopenhauer, the German philosopher who was himself inspired by the color theory of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe as an inspiration. Rietveld said that he wanted to create a chair out of the most essential elements in terms of geometric shapes, but also in terms of the essential colors. What do you know about the maker of your chair? Was it made by one person, or were there a number of craftsmen involved?
It is more likely that a team of people got together, and this is the result of a combined effort. You could see the jali work, the piercing, the woodwork, the jute work. It's a combined effort, as it has always been, and it's really a wonderful way of working. It's something for us to learn from, I think, even today. So Rietveld is the founding member of the Desir movement. Now, what were the principles of it, and what principles do we see reflected in the chair?
Rietveld's Red Blue chair is closely associated with De Stijl, the group founded in 1917 by Theo van Doesburg and Piet Mondrian, a group of painters, architects and even a poet who were asking for a new art at the end of World War I, asking for a new art that represented a new world order opposite to the one that had created this terrible war and the destruction in its wake. One of the reasons the chair has been associated with De Stijl is the closeness of Rietveld to Theo van Doesburg and the De Stijl group, but most obviously the color scheme, because it corresponds with the color schemes used by the painters of the De Stijl movement.
The chair did exist in many other versions. You have basically a four-legged device is called a charpai, and a three-legged device is called a tipai. And like that, you've got the chauki and you've got what we have here, which is a Pida, also patla. So depending on the region, you have different names and different purposes. So according to the purpose, the object was altered and adapted to suit its primary purpose. So across Gujarat, Rajasthan, you will find different kinds of woodwork, different kinds of material. They vary just slightly based on what's locally available, what was locally available at that time. And of course, the way they lived or the way they ate and whatever the primary purpose of that chair, as I said, was. Many prominent architects have designed chairs, and one has even famously said that it is more difficult to design a chair than it is to design a building. Now, what are the similarities between the two forms of architecture or design? What are the similarities between them, particularly in the case of the Red Blue chair?
The chair is a very architectural chair because it's all about the load-bearing structure, which is not hidden. And because of those particular connections that Rietveld created, it almost has the appearance of an axonometric. The slats look like vectors in space that could protrude endlessly. The Red Blue chair is a wonderful example of how, in the history of modernism, art, architecture and design have always cross-pollinated each other. What can you say about the ornamentation of the chair? Say the two bird-like ornamentations are at the backrest. Was there any influence of Mughal art and architecture on the design of the chair?
So the ornamental carvings of the back of this chair, which make it quite the striking feature of it, we can see at the arcaded back there is a 6-point star, which is called the Shatcone. Now the Shatcone comprises of two triangles, an upward triangle and a downward triangle. Now this is a yantra that represents male and female principles and is a symbol of cosmic energy because of course it combines the two. We also see several forms of carving in this chair. You can see relief, etching, turning, all of this. And again, this is a very unique part of Indian furniture or furniture in India at that time, where it was combining several kinds of techniques and skill sets. On the second row, we can see 10 spindles. Now, this is again interesting to note because it is widely understood that the Indian form of design at that time was really about decoration. But I want to point out that these 10 spindles that have been arranged in the second row are actually performing a function. They're holding and reinforcing and putting the chair together. So they're really function that's doubling up as decoration. And I think that's really clever, another sort of commonality with Western design where decoration is integrated into the function and therefore it exists, otherwise it wouldn't. In the third row, we see, of course, the jalis and the swastik shape, which has a floral and geometric pattern around it, a really beautiful combination of the two. All the frames that these details have been set into are elaborately sort of carved with floral vines. At the back, interestingly, it's been left plain. So that's interesting. It probably was used by somebody who had an audience and therefore the front was probably seen more prominently than the back. And I think that reinforces what the use of this chair may have been. It must have been to attend to an audience, which is why they've left the back plain. Otherwise, it's unusual. Normally, even Indian jewelry, the back is always detailed.
The chair for our collection was originally purchased at an auction. And in around 2013, it was appraised by Dutch experts on restoration and Dutch furniture design. And they dated the chair on 1927, meaning that it was probably manufactured in the studio of Gerard van der Groene-Kahn.
You know, an interesting aspect of design in India or sourcing design in India is that it just is in various homes of the country. It's just hidden in the various homes. And we're really lucky that the Podar family had this chair from as far as they can remember. And I think it dates back probably to the 1900s or early 1900s. And that's how it sort of came into the map collection naturally.